Aujourd'hui, je vais parler de where would we go if we had to choose to exit the good old US of A. Of course, I'm not talking about travel destinations as in vacationing, but to live at least semi long term, aka at least for 6 months, I'd say, but possibly less than forever type of time frame. Hmm. Hey, Zempak here. Another day not working for the man. Though these days, in the year of 2025, my God, what a curious political reality we live under in the greatest country in the world, eh? I'm not really gonna go into that deeply today, but instead we are pondering about our exit strategy since we have relatively freedom of movement and time. I want to outline a few places that I've considered about immigrating to, just in case the situation in the US gets even worse. Okay, that's right. If we leave, it's because I, as a first generation immigrant, is just afraid for my life, really. Okay, that's a sad thing to admit to. I don't want to be somewhere where I'm not wanted. Right? That's the truth for everybody. But the world is a big place, and in almost every corner of this world, well, they want well-to-do people who don't take any jobs away from the locals, and that, in fact, is basically this household. So, woohoo! On with the rant. Oh, but of course, before that, if you're intrigued by what I might say, please subscribe, like, comment, share, all that social media buzzwords, or whatever, because I am rich enough for me, and I'll be great regardless. Okay, so number one option got to mention France, or really the Côte d'Azur part of France. That's definitely my wifey's number one choice. So I'm gonna give a quick pro and con list. I think that's easy enough. The con is simple enough, right? There's a significant language hurdle there. Okay, my wifey says she can handle it. She can handle it all. She says if we move there. I just take her word for it, but frankly, I don't really like having to depend on someone else for the generic task of communication. I mean, I think that's really the only major con. Another minor one would be, I don't know, the possibility of another wider European conflict. If that happens, France always gets dragged into it. We've seen that in the past, 100 years or so. But, that's not something that anyone can really properly plan for, okay? Now, obviously, the pros, I hope most people understand there's tons of pros, right? We have lived in Nice, France for a couple of months at a time. So for us, it's the least number of surprises. It is definitely cheaper by far, even than the city we're in now. And we don't live in a very high cost of living city in the US, right? The weather's nicer, the people are lovely, the food is wonderful. General attitude towards life is just less hectic, right? Also, obviously, if we're in France, it would make it easier to enjoy the rest of Europe as well. So, now, if only I didn't have to stick out like a sore thumb in terms of looking like a tourist, yeah, that would be great, but, whatever. But now, second choice, Malaysia. Specifically, I would pick the Chinese part of the country, all right? This is obviously my choice because, well, it's in Asia, okay? But why this country and all of the parts of Asia instead of, let's say, the country of my origin? So let's get that bad stuff out of the way, okay? Malaysia's far, really, really far from the US. And it is, again, not where I'm from either, and also a Muslim majority. Now, that last bit, why is that a negative? Well, I don't know. I like drinking and I don't want to be judged by it. I also like pork, by the way. Same thing about the judgment. But I hear it is okay for both of those things for the humans, right? So yeah, okay. I'm glad that the Muslim majority don't drink, don't judge the rest of the people. They drink or eat pork. Okay. Now for the pros, I really do believe in Malaysia's moniker as the United States of Asia. Essentially, okay? It's got relatively modern infrastructure and an even lower cost of living compared to France, anyway. It's also, it's just got a great mix of like regional Asian foods and also like great healthcare options, right? Not to mention, I think, more adaptable, friendlier English-speaking population. Okay, and the extra bit of goodie is that I won't feel much like the other as much as I'll be some dude in a country where probably people can't tell because there's plenty of Malaysian Chinese people around, okay? Also, I think really the kicker is I think it'd be funny to see my wifey in a place where she will in fact be the, other or minority for a change. Since we're coming from the United States, that would be a big change for her. Now, our third choice, aka our compromise choice, and this is probably the most realistic considering we both have, living, aging parents, and that's our southern neighbor of the U.S. in Mexico. It is a well-timed line where Mexico is actually becoming a more socially liberal place than the USA. A statement I could not have imagined making like 10 years ago even, okay? All right, let's go with the bad part first. What's bad about Mexico? Like maybe safety? Also, neither wifey nor I speak Spanish with any level of proficiency, right? I think this list of two things can be mitigated relatively easily. Safety thing, well, I just want to make sure to mention Mexico is a big country, just like the U.S., right? I'm sure some places are worse than others, and others places won't be as bad. I've already found a couple of destinations that I think are just away from the usual South America to the United States drug routes, and therefore as safe as most U.S. cities. And as far as the language thing is concerned, well, at least it's a compromise in the sense that both of us would have to learn a new language together, right? And Mexico being so close to the U.S. and full of expats, it will, if we stay closer to expats, language is not the biggest problem. Okay? Now, the positives, obviously, healthcare, bureaucratic purposes, it is easier to find local help because, our southern neighbor just absorbs a lot of U.S. expats, right? The proximity to our families, the lovely weather, I hear it's very friendly people and very relaxed kind of lifestyle, and just how similar the lifestyle could be, right? It is, after all, one of 3 countries in North America, right? So we would have to change the least with this move, and that is something to consider seriously, okay? So in conclusion, are we about to move? Absolutely not. But would we move at short notice? I think we would, okay? I love the fact that we have the options to do that, literally whenever we want, and really whenever we want. Wherever, really, okay? My wifey really loves French stuff, and I'm relatively neutral on that front. I'd rather visit more places in the world, right? Such as Malaysia, since I have never even been there, neither of us, right? So I think maybe an exploratory trip would be nice, but I get it. That's like a whole day's flight away, so maybe we'll go check out more of Mexico, okay? Even the exploratory stage of possibly moving should be fun, right? I think we're having retired, we're pretty conservative when it comes to our travel spending in the last couple of years, right? So honestly, as I find out more and settle on a more informed, first-person opinion of all these places, at least two out of these 3 places, I will of course inform my very limited audience, and you guys will be the first to know, okay? Till then, cheers. I love Roshan.